Yes. Welcome to today's webinar on orientation to Hindu studies. I'm Ankur Patel, Director of Advancement of Hindu University of America. Our special guest faculty member, president of the university here today is Sri Kalyan Vishwanathan, and he teaches this orientation to Hindu studies course every other quarter. We're going to be offering it starting next Friday, but the orientation to Hindu studies course in this conversation introduces attendees, participants to various approaches to Hindu studies, addressing the significant distortions in contemporary understanding of Hinduism, often dominated by non-Hindu perspectives. So this course and in this webinar, we're going to hopefully inspire and encourage students to experience both the content and the conversation that helps us make informed decisions about academic paths, especially obviously in relations to Hindu studies. So brief introduction of Kalyan Vishwanathan. He's the president of HUA, but he had an extensive career with in the IT field. He managed many people. He was very successful, but then it was through his 21-year association with Puja Swami Dayananda Saraswati, the founder of the Arsha Vidya Gurukulam, that he has traveled down this path and dedicated his life to this work. He's been the president of Dharma Civilization Foundation, the Sanatana Dharma Foundation, which is in Dallas, where Kalyanji is. And since 2018, 2019, Kalyanji has been leading Hindu University of America, and it's my pleasure to work with him closely as we've gone from who will study Hinduism in an academic framework to a solid proof of concept. We have a strong 5-year track record, and we want you to be a part of that going forward. So with that, it's my privilege, honor to introduce Kalyanji, president of HUA, for a conversation on an orientation to Hindu studies. Kalyanji?
Okay. Namaste, everybody. I'd like to begin by recognizing that there are very few people uh, in the webinar today, and I'd encourage all of you to accept the panelist request because, as a panelist, once you get elevated to panelist, you can actually interact with me. You can ask questions, we can have a conversation. Otherwise, as a member of the audience, you'll just be a sort of a passive recipient of whatever I say. And the only thing you can do is maybe make a comment in the chat window. Okay, and I usually prefer to have a conversation with people. I'd like to begin with a question for all of you, okay? And I'd request you to either, type something in the chat window by way of response. These are yes or no questions. You can say yes or no, and that's enough. Okay. So the first question I have for you is, have you taken the Orientation to Hindu Studies course already? That's the first question. That's a simple yes or no. Yes, I've taken it, or no, I have not taken it. Okay, so I just want to get a sense of how many are there who have not taken it. Krishnanji has not taken it, okay? Just type in, okay, Meenakshi has not taken it, I believe, okay? Yashpalji have not taken it, okay? All right. Everybody, just put something in, okay? Just say yes or no. I have taken it already. Everybody should respond, okay? So it's a very simple yes or no question. Okay. Maybe 4 people are answering, huh? Could have taken it, okay? All right, okay. Next question I have for you is, are you considering taking it? Yes or no? Are you considering taking it? Yes or no? Give me a yes or a no. Okay. Considering, yes or no? Okay. Shilpa is saying yes. Meenakshi is saying yes. Okay. Considering. Yashpalji is saying yes. Okay. Okay, good. All right, great. Now, obviously, when you're considering, you must have questions and you must have concerns or considerations, etc. So, uh, you know, uh, maybe what we'll do is you can hold them for now. I'll share a little bit of information and then we can get into a conversation about your questions and concerns and so on. All right. So the place I want to begin today is I'll share my slide deck. Okay, so this is my opening slide, orientation to Hindu studies. See, I want to start with an inquiry. Why do we need Hindu studies? After all, we have, as Hindus, we have family traditions. We learn something from our families. We go to our mandirs, temples, we perform rituals and so on. We also have our gurus and ashrams. You can always go to a spiritual teacher, and there's so many sampradayas and traditions. When we have all this, why do we need an academic study of Hindu Dharma? So that's my question. Okay. Why do we need an academic study of Hindu Dharma? Or do we need it at all? What do you think? Who would like to speak up here? Okay.
Okay, I'll speak up.
Yeah.
We need it because where else can we find a place to study
Yeah.
Hinduism? I mean, the first alternative is go on YouTube and watch a bunch of YouTubes. But how do I know that what those people are saying is, true or good or believable?
Right. Yeah, I actually should add that question. That's a great question, Jose. We in the slide I should have added. We have our family traditions. We have our temples and rituals. We have our gurus and ashrams, and we have lots of YouTube videos. So why do we need to study? Come to take a course on Hindu studies, right? I mean, yeah, great. Thank you, Jose. Thank you for answering. Okay, anybody else?
Uh, yeah.
Yashpalji, can you turn on your video by any chance so we
oh,
can see
oh,
you?
oh, yeah. Yeah, I was raising my hand, but
Yeah.
video was off.
Yeah.
Okay. You see, it depends on your own situation. See, I happen to be 85 years old, 1963 graduate of IIT Kharagpur, 70 PhD in artificial intelligence. Okay. I have my own history.
Yeah.
I want to know I want to convert whatever knowledge we have about what Hinduism is in form of a flow chart, the summary.
Right, but
And if the course helps me
yeah.
develop that, yeah, I will do it because I'm not a reader. You see, I go to sleep when we talk about detailed studies of anything.
Okay. All right. Well, first of all, let me assure you, in the orientation to Hindu studies course, there will be a lot of reading to do.
Okay.
First thing. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to find a way of not falling asleep with the reading.
Yeah, Kalyanji, that has been my problem. Okay.
Yeah.
I've been going to sleep since my primary school, and I used to get punished. Okay. But I never failed to answer any question from any teacher in whole of my life. Okay.
All right. Okay, got it. Okay, but the thing is, the course, in some ways, the whole course unfolds through the readings. And I assure you, the readings will be very provocative. Some of them will be very difficult.
Yeah.
but some of them will be very provocative. Provocative in the sense, thought-provoking. I don't mean it provocative in the sense of, rile you up or something, but it'll be thought-provoking. It'll cause you to think and rethink what you know or what you think you already know. Okay. So, those of you who are ready to read, this course is perfect for you. Okay. So, anybody else who wants to share, like the questions I said was, Sherry, hi Sherry, you and I have,
Hey.
hey, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. It's good to see you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have an answer to your question. I believe, well, let me start with a little history. I grew up as a Christian and went to the church situation, and I really had serious questions about it.
Yeah.
So I ended up going to seminary, not because I really wanted to be a minister, but because I thought, they had something higher to tell me about this stuff that I couldn't quite, I couldn't quite believe everything I was hearing in church. And I found it was a vastly different world. In fact, it was that world that opened my mind to other paths. And indeed, I have found wonder in other paths that I never did in my home path. So I really believe that by looking to the academic world, sometimes we find more authentic and mind-opening things than maybe we did in traditional practice, which sometimes can become very small, I guess I will say, very much just embedded in its own views. And I don't know, I've taken several courses at the Hindu University and have always found them incredibly open to many ideas. And so I think this is a great thing.
Okay, terrific. Great. Okay, wonderful. Yes, let's hear from a few other people. Sesha Akela, you had to first of all become a panelist if you want to say anything, okay? Because as a member of the audience, you can only type in the chat window and you won't be able to speak. Yeah, there you are. Yeah, Seshaji, turn on your video and you can go next. Yeah.
Namaste.
Namaste. Yeah.
Why do we have to have Hindu studies?
Yeah.
Simple answer would be, if you cut off the roots, the tree will die. That's what it is. If we don't study, the whole Sanatan Dharma will fall. Now, luckily for Sanatan Dharma, because it is Sanatana, means forever, because of which the roots, it's like a banyan tree. So even if the roots are being tried to be destroyed, the roots from the top, that means there's those handful few who are trying to keep it alive. And we are in a very lucky moment in time in our lives where this is growing, and we need to take every opportunity to learn and let it survive and thrive too. That's my simple answer.
Okay, great, wonderful. That's a great answer. Okay, it's terrific. Now, so Seshaji, I'll follow up with the question. Have you taken the Orientation to Hindu Studies course already?
Actually, I want to take every course at HUA. They're wonderful courses. I haven't yet taken.
So naturally, that leads to the question: why haven't you taken? I mean, I'm not asking you personally, but I'm asking generally, right? I mean, a lot of people want to take courses, but they don't, and there's always a good reason at the other side of that, because, right? I mean, there's a really good reason, and it seems like that reason is so overwhelming that it's hard to commit. So what is your particular good reason, Seshaji, if I may ask
I
you?
have many good reasons, but right now I got enrolled in Gopi Prasad ji's
Gita course.
Gita Vidya course. So I don't think I can do more than one at a time.
Really? Okay. All right. Okay. Okay, good. All right. Well, you'll be surprised once you get into it.
I've done 5 courses. So this is my 6th course.
Wow.
And it's more initially was for my self-knowledge. And then I teach children. So all the more, that's the interest I have.
Yeah.
And then the more I am studying or learning about this, the more I feel, the less I know. So
yeah, and that's a very interesting and important point that you're raising, okay, that you're sharing, and I think that it bears underlining, reinforcing that one of the characteristics of the study of Hindu Dharma or Hinduism, Hindu studies, is that once you enter into it, you'll find that the domain is very vast. There's actually so much to learn, so much to study, and that the more you study, the more you're struck by how much there is to know, right? And very often, one of the barriers people have is, at least in our community, one of the barriers we have is that we think we already know whatever there is to know, and to know a little, I mean, all of us know a little, right? All of us know something about Hinduism. We picked it up from here and there. We picked it up from our parents, from our friends, from gurus, from acharyas, from the mandirs, and so on. But sometimes some of us get trapped inside the idea that we already know what there is to know. And I found that, in conversing with many people, that's one of the things that stops them. They just start wondering, what am I going to learn that's new? What am I going to learn that I don't already know? Perhaps it's a waste of my time, waste of my money. What am I going to learn from this course? Okay, so I'm going to try to share a little bit about that. But before I go, anybody else wants to say anything? Anybody else wants to share something? Now is the chance, because then once I start going, you won't get this chance again.
I'll just add, not only does Kalanji teach this course, every quarter Kalanji himself takes classes at HUA to underline that lifelong learner. There's so much to learn. And I think, Kalanji, you're actually getting your doctorate of Hindu studies at HUA. You're leading this institution.
Right. Yeah. Okay. And anybody else? I mean, you want to just share a little bit about what your interest is? What brought you to this webinar? That's a fair question. Okay. Meenakshi, how about you?
Yes, so I'm a college student. I've taken one class actually when I was in my senior year of high school, and that's what really brought me interested in taking more classes. So yeah, I mean, I just wanted to hear everyone's perspective because it's always been in my mind ever since I graduated high school. Sometime in the future, maybe after college, I could consider getting a degree at HUA, hopefully. So I just wanted to learn about what are the different options and how I can integrate this path into Dharma at some point.
Great, fantastic. Okay, the orientation to Hindu studies course will be the perfect place to begin that exploration. Okay, because what it does is it creates a really great foundation for all the different avenues and pathways of study that are available at HUA. Okay. Anything else from anybody? Otherwise, I'll move on. And
yeah, I can introduce myself.
Yeah, please, go ahead.
Yeah, I am Govind Gopal. Namaste, everyone. I am from the place, Vaishnava place called Sri Mushnam. It's Varaga Sthalam. So I brought up in a street called the Sanadi Street. So I moved to California or US about 20 plus years, but I'm missing those temple and early morning chanting, all those things. So which brought me to this interest to this group and learn more about our origin and other things.
Yeah.
Also, there is a place Chidambaram. we have some Devaram and Tiruvasakam chanting in California right now in Concord we are doing. Also, I'm doing some Concord Murugan every month, Padayatra. So I want to stay with this divine thing. I just want to learn more from this today. Thank you.
Terrific. So, I mean, in one sense, right, Hindus have transplanted their mandirs, the mandir culture, the temple culture, to quite a significant extent in America, right? And that was one of my questions. When you have your mandirs, when you have your gurus and your acharyas and your ashrams, when you have your family traditions and so on, why do you need an academic study of Hinduism? What is this thing called academics Hindu studies? Okay, so we're going to take a look at that today. All right. Now, let me go back to my.
Namaste, Kalyanji. Shanta Srivastava here.
Yeah, Shantaji, how are you?
I'm
Yes,
fine.
can you turn on your video, please?
I don't see the. I think I'm not able to turn on my video.
Okay.
But
all right.
I have taken your course and I joined this session because I wanted to see you and of course Ankur always. And I must say to all the people who have not taken this course, please do, because it gives so much clarity and confidence about Hinduism. And Kalyanji is an amazing, amazing teacher. He has so much knowledge. I wish I could just listen to him all the time. He has so much to offer. And unless you take this course, you will not be able to effectively influence the people in North America, and which is needed very much in today's time, about Hinduism, because you need to give them concrete facts and you need to impress upon the points in a way that Kalyanji gives us. Basically, he gives us the tools to have that confidence. And it's very important for our generations to come. So each and every one of us can be an ambassador of Sanatan Dharma. If you take this course, it will open up so many other areas that you will be interested in. I have not stopped taking courses at HUA. I think I've taken almost 18 or 20 courses now, and I have completed my certificate also. And yet I continue to take for my own knowledge so that I can contribute. If I'm, as he said, going to the temple, ashrams, these are fine. These are at a different level. But what Hindu University of America is offering and what Kalyanji is offering, it's not available anywhere else. This is my experience. I'm being very honest. So please do take this course and you will not regret. Thank you.
Terrific, Shantaji. Thank you for that endorsement. I didn't expect it, but thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, very good. All right, great. So let me now go back to my slides. You see, the study of religion is a very well-established phenomenon in the West. The study of religion. For example, Harvard College, which later on became Harvard University, was founded in 1636 as a Puritan Congregationalist institution and trained ministers for many years. The Harvard College later on became the Harvard Divinity School, and it exists even today as part of the Harvard, what is today Harvard University. Just like you have a Harvard Business School, a Harvard Law School, a Harvard Medical School, and so on. You also have the Harvard Divinity School in the same campus. At Yale, you have the, Yale, what was originally called Yale College, was founded in 1701. It was a college of religious training for Congregationalist ministers in the Connecticut colony. And the Yale Divinity School came into existence in 1822 and exists even today in the Yale University campus. And here is another Ivy League school, the Princeton Theological Seminary, which was founded in 1812 under the auspices of the General Assembly of the Presbyterian Church. It's a private Presbyterian school of theology in Princeton, New Jersey. And these are just some examples of hundreds and hundreds of theological schools in America. Okay. And if you go to Europe, it's not any different. Even at Oxford University, you have today you have something called the Faculty of Religion, Faculty of Religion, Religious Studies, and so on. And it used to be the whole of Harvard not long ago, meaning about 200 years ago, or even less than that. But one thing that we should all sort of confront is the fact that Hindu studies does not exist as an academic discipline in the academia, neither in India nor in the West. Okay, neither in India nor in the West. Okay, so the question is why? Why did it not develop? Okay, that's my question. And I'd like to hear a couple of people share about why do you think Hindu studies in the academic environments never really developed? Anybody wants to say?
Well, I guess I'm trying to figure out what you're asking, because aren't there Hindu studies at like Rutgers University or Harvard University?
Well, there are not really. Not really. Okay. See, Jose, what you find in Rutgers is what would be called religious studies. Okay. Or even at Harvard Divinity School, you can get a master's in divinity. But the majority of the curriculum will be Christian, and there'll be one or two courses on Hinduism, as part of the study of world religions, right? So you find that in a lot of universities in the West, where a couple of courses, maybe 3 or 4 courses are there, but they are part of a larger religious studies curriculum, which is centered on fundamentally Christianity. Okay, Hindu studies as a discipline doesn't really exist. I mean, it got started relatively recently, about 7-8 years ago in Graduate Theological Union. But again, the tendency is to absorb Hinduism as one among many religions in the world, rather than a focused study of Hinduism itself. Yeah, Jose, is that helpful?
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So that's new info for me.
Yeah, hello. My name is Satish Damle. I would like to say add something to it.
Yeah, please.
I think the reason you see, the colleges that you showed me is all because I think the basic principle of the religions like Christianity or the Muslim religion is they want to spread the religion. Right. I don't think Hindus, we ever thought of like spreading it and like making everyone Hindu. There is no such belief that when everyone becomes Hindu, then only Krishna will come back. We know that Krishna will come back whenever there is a yada yada hi dharmasya, right? Whereas Christianity and Muslims, they believe that when everyone becomes Christian, then there will be another birth of Jesus, or same thing with Islam. I think that's the reason, I think, why we Hindus never thought the requirement to like have the study
I
as
understand what you're saying. Okay, so you seem to believe then that universities, that is a theological school or a divinity school,
yeah,
is fundamentally an instrument for proselytization.
I think so. Yeah,
You think so?
yeah.
Okay. But how about a university like Yeshiva University? That's a Jewish institution. Okay.
Oh,
Yeshiva, and they don't proselytize. I mean, they're not
yeah,
but they also have their own universities, very
right.
much. There's something called the American Jewish University and so on. So, I mean, while I understand that the proselytization can be an important or preparing people for a career in proselytization, right? Or a global career in proselytization is a commitment of many of these
Religions.
schools and theological schools. You're not wrong about that. But it need not be the only commitment, right? It need not be the only one. I mean, just in terms of understanding our Hindu culture, traditions, etc., there is a place for a Hindu university. And in fact, the one university that was started with great hope and anticipation in India was the Banaras Hindu University. You might have all heard of this university.
Yeah, BHU.
Banaras Hindu University. But, what happened to it was, after the independence in India, it became thoroughly secularized, where every discipline, from science and technology and engineering and pharmacy and medicine and everything was encouraged. But Hindu studies was never encouraged, it was destroyed. There is, of course, a place for Sanskrit studies, which is very much alive. And there's a lot of places in India where there is Sanskrit studies, but there isn't any Hindu studies anywhere. See, what I'm doing, Satishji, is I'm drawing certain careful distinctions right now.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So why do you think that is? And see, if you try to introduce Hindu studies in Banaras Hindu University today, the entire faculty, especially the humanities faculty in Banaras Hindu University, will protest and create such a ruckus that it won't happen. Okay, but they won't protest the presence of Sanskrit studies on the campus. What do you think is the difference?
Well, Hindu is a religion, whereas Sanskrit is just a language, right?
Well, interesting. Okay, interesting. That is a perspective. Yeah, there is some validity to that. Yeah, let's hear from Meenakshi.
Yeah, I don't know if this is a good answer, but maybe because Hinduism is not a structured religion, like a lot of Hindus might be against studying, like doing a program on Hindu studies, because they might, it might sound as if you're kind of making Hinduism into a structured religion by establishing a Hindu studies.
Yeah.
So I guess, I don't know if people just like started to like make conflict out of that.
Well, I mean, it's an interesting answer, okay, Meenakshi. Let me admit that, but I don't think that's it, okay? I don't think that's it, because Hinduism as a phenomenon, as a culture, as a tradition, it has got enormous internal variability, internal flexibility, internal diversity, right? However, that's not a sufficient reason not to study it at all, isn't it? If I study one thing, it's like saying there's so much diversity within physics, chemistry, and mathematics. Why would I study any of it? And the best way to preserve the peace is to not study at all. I mean, that's not a legitimate answer, I don't think. But there is a reason why the religious studies, especially Hindu studies, is deeply, deeply inhibited in India. There's a reason. Yeah.
Yeah. Can I say something? Yeah.
Yeah, Krishan.
Yeah. At least in India, The academia is biased against Hinduism, number one.
That's right.
Number two, we don't have any formal structure
Yeah.
To teach Hinduism as like a course.
Yeah.
People, of course, a lot of discourses, everything is happening. But there is no organized structure to teach Hinduism.
Right.
That I feel is the main reason.
Okay, good. All right, great. I think both aspects that you mentioned are valid. Okay, are valid. You know that the academia in India, especially in the humanities, the social sciences, the liberal arts in India, they are very much kind of opposed to the introduction of Hindu studies in the mainstream universities. Okay, and in the orientation to Hindu studies, because we'll ask and answer that question, why that is so, why that is so. But let's kind of get into a little bit today. Why are these people in the humanities, social sciences, and liberal arts in India so opposed to the introduction of Hindu studies in the mainstream universities of India? Why are they opposed to it?
Can I answer that?
Yeah.
Okay. I think they are opposed to it because fundamentally, if you look at it from in a digital way, or fundamental truth behind that is that it is a problem of mono versus poly. Okay, a bit has they say it has only two values, 0 or 1. So so it is more of a spirituality. I think it is a huge language problem. Dharma is Sanatan Dharma. Hinduism is just a word. Okay, everything we talk about, knowledge and all the practices and so on, is all part of Sanatan Dharma.
Okay.
Religion, it is not a religion. A religion means mono.
Okay.
See, so it is a language problem.
Okay,
see,
so
what
you do hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. So do you believe the academia in India, especially in the humanities, liberal arts, and social sciences, are opposed to the study of Hinduism in the mainstream universities because they think it's not a religion?
Okay, all of us, we have been trained, we have been totally brainwashed in last 300, 400 years.
Right.
We have all of us gone through the same education system.
Right.
So our minds are all colonized and we are all speaking English. You see, to me, Sanskrit is the language of Sanatan Dharma.
True.
You see, Sanatan Dharma is not, it is an integrated whole. If you
Yeah.
take a simple example of,
No, hold on. Yashpalji, just keep it succinct, okay? So, but see, the question I was asking was, why is the academia? And so I think you're getting to that answer, okay? The academia. So let me recreate the answer for you. See, the academia in India, especially not the people in the science and technology and engineering and math, STEM, they don't care. They don't care. They are busy with their own stuff. It is the people in the humanities who care a lot, who care a great deal, right? And they care because they think they know what can be studied legitimately in the universities and what cannot be studied legitimately in the university environments.
Okay.
And what is the source of their knowledge? Okay, the source of their knowledge is what they've copied from the West. Yeah. So the humanities, the social sciences, and the liberal arts, as they existed today, is literally a copy of what the West has created in the same disciplines in England and in Germany and in France and in America.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Now, you see, that is what I'm trying to say. That you see, you said that forget engineering and so on. Why? Okay, why forget? You see, as soon as you go into any area, there is a purpose behind it.
Yeah.
And purpose is finding a job so that you can earn your living.
Right.
That's all. So in academia, you want to become a professor, you want to create your own brand that I am a professor and I am so popular. So they are depending on advertising. And that is the same thing in the commercial world when the use is branding. So, but it has no value. Brand has no value.
Right. Okay. No, so, but see, it's a larger issue. Okay. So the larger issue is, see, one way of talking about it is if you do introduce Hindu studies as a discipline in the academia, in the mainstream academia in India, then people will, let us say, they come out with degrees, say Master of Arts in Hindu Studies or a PhD in Hindu Studies, etc.
Okay.
What job will they get?
Exactly right. Okay, please tell us.
Okay. No, hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. But supposing, in America, there are hundreds and hundreds of divinity schools and theological schools.
Okay.
You can go to Harvard and get a Master of Divinity degree or a Doctor of Theology degree at Harvard University.
Yeah.
And then you can get employed in University of Chicago.
Right.
Or the Dallas Theological Seminary, or in the Graduate Theological Union, or Union Theological Seminary, and so on. In other words, there is an ecosystem of institutions, of universities, of colleges, where study of religion is encouraged at so many different levels that the professional practice, the professional study of religion, the professional research into religion, the professional teaching, publication, etc., is an activity is very much grounded and it is flourishing. Of course, if you talk to the Americans, especially the Christians, they will complain that Christianity is dying and nobody's going to church anymore and theology is not productive and so on. So same issues are there too. Okay, I don't want to get into it. Okay. But in the case of Hinduism, the entire academic ecosystem has never been allowed to flourish. For that matter, even emerge. Okay.
I know.
And this will be one of the questions that we will explore at length. In other words, the question is, what has colonization done to the Hindus?
Okay.
What has been the impact of colonization on the Hindu world?
Okay.
And that'll be one of the questions we will begin exploring in the orientation to Hindu studies. Okay.
Kalyanji, I know the answer, but what they have done is...
Yeah, Shashmaji, no, I don't want to get into all that. See, everybody knows everything, okay? That's the problem. Part of the problem is they know everything, okay? So see, listen, I want to, see, the thing is, see, the systematic exploration of the impact of colonization, of 200 years of colonization on India, on Hindus, and 800 years of Islamic invasions prior to that, has never been allowed a space for academic exploration in India. And people walk around pretending they already know, because there's nothing been written about it. Hardly anything has been written about 200 years of colonization. I mean, it's one of the most extraordinary phenomenon. It's like the mystifying blind spot of the Hindus. The problem with the Hindus is they are blind as far as the impact of colonization is concerned, and they don't know how blind they are. They don't know what they don't know. The problem is so severe.
Kalyanji, if you ask me, I don't consider myself a Hindu. Okay.
That's also a product. That's also a product of colonization.
No. Okay. In one line, I can answer. I think. Okay, you will understand. 25 years ago, I was in Saudi Arabia. Okay, and I was part of a U.S. team. Okay, so I was dealing at very high level. So I used to be asked many times, "Who are you?" Okay, they expected me to say Hindu so that they can make fun of me. So my answer to them was, I am a pagan.
Okay. All right.
Okay?
So
Now,
these are survival strategies adopted by Hindus.
no. I'm not.
Avoid being made fun of. Okay.
No. By saying that, what I'm saying is, I have hit the bottom line. Bottom line is, we are either pagans, all of Hindus, and all the people who have depended on Mother Nature, versus the monotheists, essentially Christians and Islam.
That's right.
Okay, so that is where I was saying about 0 and 1. It is a binary.
Okay. All right. I mean, you have some interesting constructs going on there. Okay. So let me, in the interest of time, I mean, I hardly covered 2 slides. I need to do some justice to this webinar. So I'm going to go through some slides now. Okay. All right. So I'm going to maybe rush a little bit. Okay. Sorry about that. See, the burden of history that we are carrying, that we Hindus are carrying, okay, this is the burden of history. And in this one chart, it tells the whole story. You know, if you look at India's share of world GDP, compare it to the USA's share of the world GDP, the UK's share of world GDP. Okay, what you'll find is that India was, you know, the most advanced economy, the most advanced, most prosperous economy in the world for nearly 1500 years. 1500 years, okay. And then it started collapsing. And the collapse started happening first with the Islamic invasions, and then it got tremendously accelerated under the British. And the problem is, most of us were born here, you know, and what we encountered was a deeply damaged, a deeply impoverished, living, impoverished population, living in a sea of illiteracy and ignorance. And we've been trying to extricate ourselves from the deep hole in which we were placed. And in the ancient days, we had our own universities, Takshashila, Nalanda, which competed with Alexandria and so on. In fact, Takshashila was much older than Alexandria. And then as time passed, these universities gave way to Oxford and Cambridge. They gave to Harvard, Stanford, and I've added in Jawaharlal Nehru University as a quintessential, the prototypical humanities, social sciences, and liberal arts school in India, Jawaharlal Nehru University. And this is the source of our knowledge at the moment. And the thing is, that's happened is, in this discourse that's been generated via Oxford and Cambridge and Harvard and Stanford and JNU, Hindus get unfortunately portrayed as the aggressors and the problem. Hinduism is problematized for a variety of reasons. There is massive distortion and cognitive dissonance. And the Hindu community is not in control of its own story and narrative. And that is the fact about where we are today. And we are surviving with our temples, our gurus and ashrams, and a little bit here and a little bit there. But the mainstream academic environments have successfully discarded or eliminated or they have ostracized the study of Hinduism from in their environments. Okay? And this is one of the products of history, and this is a burden of history that we carry today. Human knowledge is always partial, okay? And all of us know a little bit. All of us know a little bit. I'm not denying it. And everybody can ascertain some facts and gain a certain perspective. But can anyone find the whole truth about anything? See, that's an interesting question. And truth, can anyone ever know everything there is to know? Or can you ever be sure that you know everything? And knowledge is this enormously unbounded domain. And one of the things you will find when you enter into the world of Hindu studies is that you are entering an unbounded dimension, a vast dimension. There is so much to learn that you cannot exhaust in one lifetime. What is the purpose of our study? Well, the purposes are threefold. There is knowledge, where we gain in rigor and depth, explore and inquire. We gain certain critical skills in terms of articulation, in terms of better engagement in our contemporary environments. We gain expertise and credibility, and ultimately transformation in terms of our own personal lives, our priorities, our focus in life, and who we can be in the world and the impact that we can make. All of this will get transformed through the study. And the orientation to Hindu studies is the entry point of that study. It will give us clarity, expertise, confidence, and we will make a contribution, a real contribution in the world. Of course, the question of why to study first must be represented in terms of what is the significance of our lives. So as a human being, there are two fundamental purposes that we all have in life. We all, when I say we all, I mean not just Hindus, but everybody, Christians, Muslims, Jewish people, Americans, Japanese, Russians, everybody, Palestinians, Indians, Australians, everybody shares in these two commitments. We are committed to pursuing our security and comfort. We're committed to pursuing conveniences in our lives, physical conveniences in our lives. And if we achieve that to some measure, then the next thing we want to do is we want to have a good time. We are interested in entertaining ourselves quite endlessly. And we are very innovative as a human species, very innovative in terms of finding different ways of entertaining ourselves and having a good time. But of course, a vast mass of humanity is stuck in struggling even for security and comfort. They live very insecure lives. They live very uncomfortable lives. And their lives is more or less confined to the daily grind of pursuing security and comfort in their respective environments. So this is what we call the pursuits of artha, security and comfort, and kama, having a good time, having pleasure, having joy, being happy in life. But this is something common to all of humanity. There's nothing unique and distinct about being a Hindu here. But Hindu studies really begins with an awakening, beyond artha and kama, there's another dimension. There is a dimension of dharma and moksha. And this is the domain of Hindu studies, really speaking. And as you enter into this domain, what you'll find is that it requires you to have an awakened intelligence. About what? Well, about yourself, about the human condition, about the world. You must develop an interest in spirituality, a spiritual intuition about your own place in the world. You must get interested in self-knowledge, knowing yourself. Who are you? Are you a pagan, for example? An integral understanding instead of kind of fragmented understanding. Today's education gives us a very fragmentary knowledge. One can be a deep expert in artificial intelligence, very sought after, an expert in AI, in cryptocurrency, in biotechnology, in molecular genetics, and so on. Very specialized knowledge, but really lack an integral understanding of the nature of human existence and life. And of course, it's all stimulated by the beginnings of an awareness of the great cosmic mystery of life itself. When these are present, when these are activated, and all of these become real for you, then the study of Hindu Dharma becomes a possibility. Because that's where all of it unfolds. And if you ask me, this is my recreation of an answer to the question. Well, family traditions, temples and rituals, ashrams and gurus. And as I said earlier, maybe I need to add a column here called YouTube videos, because that has become a real source of knowledge today. The academic study of Hinduism, Hindu studies, academic Hindu studies, takes you beyond into a world of contemporary application, in the realms of personal therapy and counseling, personal transformation, teaching, research, writing, articulation, engaging in the media and the public square, participating in advocacy and policy initiatives, entering into debates and dialogue, representing the Hindu tradition and culture, defense of the traditions, contesting erroneous understandings, erroneous representations, resolving conflicts, and assuming ownership of our own narrative, the Hindu narrative. Okay. And academic study is, in my view, indispensable, because the family traditions, temples and rituals, ashrams and gurus, and YouTube videos do not take you there systematically or deeply enough. And that's the reason, in my view, that Hindu studies is critically important. What does it entail? Well, Hindu studies entails inquiry, research, reading, investigation, exploration, dialogue, reflection, thought, observation, meditation. I mean, it is going to be a deeply contemplative, deeply transformative experience. And what it requires is this freedom from already knowing. The problem is, if you come to Hindu studies already knowing, the space of exploration and research and inquiry gets limited, gets inhibited. And that's unfortunately true for a lot of Hindus. They already know. And once you break out of that, break through that, you begin to develop a willingness to learn and see newly, reconsider, reevaluate your understanding in the light of new facts, new knowledge, etc. And that's what Hindu studies, the study of Hindu Dharma, entails. Well, there's a question of what is the right approach to the study of Hinduism. What is Hindu studies? Well, there is the study of it through the lens of philosophy, through the lens of theology, through the lens of history, through the lens of religion, through the lens of geopolitics, through the lens of anthropology, through the lens of sociology, psychology, philology, and so on. And you can throw in a lot of other disciplines. And what you'll find is all of these disciplines have one thing in common, and that is they are all of a Western origin. Okay, they were generated, they were developed, they came into existence during a particularly productive period in European intellectual history called what? The Age of Enlightenment. Okay, the Age of Reason, the emergence of science, etc. And all of these disciplines emerged. And today, unfortunately, the first impulse when we begin to explore Hinduism, the first impulse that we have is to explore it through the lens of a Western discipline. Okay. Now here, it's a different question. Okay, what is the thing that these words represent? Sanatana Dharma, Hinduism, Hindu Dharma, religion, tradition, family of traditions, culture, civilization, a way of life. What are all these things? Are these the same thing? Do they represent the same thing? Or are they different dimensions of what we call Hindu studies today? Right? This is another question. See, one thing is very clear. Hinduism is very ancient and it is filled with many, many ancient texts. And its ancientness, on the one hand, while it can be a matter of great pride for Hindus, on the other hand, it is also a handicap, because what is ancient becomes easily rendered, interpreted, classified as obsolete, as archaic, as no longer relevant. okay, in the only mode of study that the Enlightenment era thought of the West can bring to the exploration of ancient texts is not these questions. Okay, so they don't ask these questions. What wisdom do these ancient texts have for us in our contemporary times? They don't ask that question. Does the ancient text have anything of value for us in our time? How do we extract that which is of contemporary value while disregarding material which perhaps belongs to a long bygone era? Right? Unfortunately, these are questions that the modern constitution of the liberal arts, humanities, and social sciences do not ask. They do not ask these questions. Instead, they dismiss the ancient text as a relic of the past, as perhaps a historical artifact that maybe belongs in the museum, something that's archaic and old, obsolete, and no longer relevant. And so the only questions to ask of an ancient text is, what does the ancient text tell us about the way people lived and thought and behaved in those days? What inferences can we draw about the people, their culture, their priorities and interests from the text? Who wrote the text? When did they write it? And of course, the favorite Marxist question, what social or political advantage were they seeking when they wrote this text? Because apparently within the Marxist paradigm, the only reason to write anything is to seek advantage, economic and political power. And inside of this paradigm, the ancient text has nothing of value to offer. You understand? This is the prejudice, the fundamental prejudice, born of Enlightenment era thought originating in Europe, that permeates the academic environments in India. And so once they've classified Hinduism as something that belongs to the ancient past, no longer relevant, why would they allow the study of Hinduism to emerge in their environments, right? That's the source of the resistance, understand? And in Hindu studies, what we are calling Hindu studies today, we must understand Enlightenment era thought also, because it is mainstream. Okay, not only it is mainstream, it's actually running out of steam, even in the mainstream, with the contemporary woke culture and, you know, contemporary kind of critical theories and everything that has emerged in recent times in postmodern thought and so on. Even Enlightenment era thinking is now under stress, if I may put it mildly. Okay. So as Hindus, you know, it's important for us to understand European thought, Western thought, and where it is heading, the trajectory of Western thought, and where does Sanatana Dharma stand in relation to that? Okay. And this is very, very hard for us to get a hold of, because most of us got trained in the STEM disciplines, right? We decided long ago, at least our parents decided for us, that the humanities is not very useful. So you become an engineer or a scientist or a doctor, or a better still, a businessman, you know, and pursue a productive life, with the side effect that it's completely disengaged from the humanities in their entirety, right? So we become specialists and experts in specific disciplines which work to give us, successfully work to give us a decent life, a productive life, an economically and financially successful life, while completely obscuring the mystery and the real questions of why we are alive at all in the first place, and what is the purpose for which we are alive. Those questions get obscured in the process. Okay, VB, somebody called VB is asking something about Brahmins. Okay, there's a whole course about that. I'll come to that. Now, here is Swami Vivekananda on an approach and a different approach to the study of Hindu Dharma. Here he says Hinduism means expansion. Expansion means realization. Man is to become divine. And please, I have to add, it means woman too. As much as man, it is the human being is to become divine, realizing the divine more and more from day to day in an endless progress. See, this is a different form of progressivism, if I may use that word, different from the Western conception of progressivism, which is bound up in material advancement primarily. But this is the ascent of the human towards the divine, in building up character, in making for everything that is good and great, in bringing peace to others and peace to one's own self. Religion is the highest motive power and therefore ought to be studied from that standpoint. And if I were to insert in the place of religion, if I were to insert the phrase Sanatana Dharma, it's the highest motive power and therefore ought to be studied from that standpoint, then Swamiji's quotation stands as a very powerful articulation of an approach to study Hindu Dharma. The orientation to Hindu studies course takes place over 11 sessions. It goes through a series of topics and themes. They are an excellent kind of survey of areas of study that are offered in Hindu University of America. We'll start with the background. We look at colonialism and its aftermath, the building blocks of Hindu thought, academic architecture of the university, Sanskrit studies, texts and traditions, post-colonial Hindu studies, history and method, conflict and peace studies. And we'll end with some interesting discussions on yoga and Ayurveda and so on. So that's the course. Okay, and people who are culturally Hindu can certainly take it. They're looking to develop new skills and expertise. Yeah, they should take up this course. People who wish to participate, provide leadership in the public square in terms of writing and speaking, in terms of service and contribution, they will benefit greatly from this course. Young people who are curious about life and looking for direction as Hindus is a fantastic beginning for them. And culturally non-Hindu people who are not born in the Hindu tradition, but they are interested, they have become interested in Hindu thought and culture through an avenue of, say, yoga or new age groups or spiritual groups or meditation and so on. This is a great place to begin. People who are engaged in public service as teachers, doctors, counselors, therapists, chaplains, they'll benefit immensely from Hindu thought as it pertains to the domain of the mind. Mental health, behavioral health, what we call spiritual health. In these domains, Hinduism has a lot to say. And of course, academics and scholars who wish to move beyond the European or Western caricaturing of Hinduism and acquire an authentic perspective of Hindu thought, this would be an excellent beginning. The course details, it's a $300 course. It's a 1.5 credit hour course. It's part of the continuing education program. It's a required course in the certificate program in Hindu studies, and it's a required prerequisite for all graduate programs in Hindu studies. So the course begins about a week, 5 days from now, July 19th. It'll end on September 27th, 2024. We'll have 2 hours of class every week with lots of discussions. It starts at 8 p.m. CST, 9 p.m. EST, 6 p.m. Pacific time. And in addition to the 2 hours, you'll have approximately 3 to 4 hours of reading assignments in between sessions. There's no grade really. Everybody will get an A if you do the assignments and you attend classes and participate in discussions. Of course, there's always a way of failing the course. And many people do manage to attain that distinguished accomplishment of failing the orientation to Hindu studies course. There'll be papers to read between weeks, some videos to watch, quizzes, short essays, etc. These are the learning outcomes. Explore various options and trajectories within the Hindu studies program, distinguish central ideas and concepts that constitute the foundations of Hindu Dharma, inquire into and evaluate different elective areas of study and courses offered, Sanskrit studies, texts and traditions, etc., etc. Distinguish between pathways toward a deep study of Hindu thought in and of its own right, or towards deep engagement with Western thought from a Hindu perspective. Those are different streams. And discover and create pathways for engagement with Hindu studies curricula for yourself, a unique pathway for you. And the course will really enable you to recognize the possible value and opportunity of engaging seriously and rigorously with the study of that which we call Hindu Dharma. And of course, there are a lot of future possibilities, even though the ecosystem is very, very weak, almost non-existent, right? Hindu studies leads to an expanded participation in a number of areas as yoga teachers, just school teachers, Hindu studies teachers, performing arts, chaplains, counselors, Hindu priests, community leaders, non-profit executives, writers, bloggers, media professionals, academic professors, public intellectuals, and traditional knowledge consultants like Jyotish, Vastu, etc. All of these are possibilities, and HUA exists to empower and enable you in your journey here, okay? So that's my brief, quick survey of the course. I'll take a few questions and I'll invite Ankur to put up the, yeah, he's already done it. The course is, it starts Friday next week. If you haven't taken it, please register, okay? It'll be an engaging, exciting, provocative, and transformative time for all of you. Any questions, anybody? Anything that pops into your mind, yeah? Yes.
Well organized curriculum.
Mm-hmm.
I have been watching all your webinars, and each time there is something new, something different, and more organized, and getting more and more well, analyzed also. So I just wanted to put a comment over there.
Okay. All right. Any other questions, anybody? Comment?
Yes, I have a question.
Yeah.
So just on a general note, as a university student, I'm still like used to seeing seeing the stark contrast and differences between STEM and technology majors and like the social sciences and humanities major. But I'm always like curious on bringing both fields together, and even like if like that I'm a computer science student, so I'm seeing it from my perspective. So like even if I were to like come from like a tech background, would like doing like a graduate program or like an advanced program like this on the future, like would it be like would it be like useful, or like is that something like you can integrate your path with, or would you have to like completely like leave that path and like change the field?
Absolutely. I mean, actually, see, I'll tell you one of the difficulties that we Hindus have today, right, is that we don't have a sufficient appreciation of the power of the humanities and social sciences, because we have been brought up to think almost exclusively through the prism of STEM, and it's understandable because, after independence from the British, India was trying to dig itself out of the hole, the deep hole of poverty it was left in. And people mostly saw the sciences and engineering and medicine and, business as vehicles for personal advancement economically. And that mentality of pursuing, financial stability in life, financial success, financial stability in life, has become so deeply ingrained in the Hindu community, it survives the generations, meaning even after the parents have become relatively financially stable and successful, they still ask their children to go and take the sciences and technologists, to become technologists and engineers and so on. And unfortunately, the cost of that, the side effect of that is that they are very ill prepared to face what the humanities is unleashing upon the world today. And what I will say about that is, actually, if you're able to find a way of integrating the two, it'll it'll give you immense capacity in dealing with the world much more holistically, in a much more comprehensive manner, rather than just as a specialist in a very narrow discipline in life. Okay, that's my answer to that question. I don't know if you're satisfied.
I would like to respond to that as
Eddie,
well,
please,
if I might.
please. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I work with a lot of people who have business degrees, and they manage people based on what they learned in their business education, and sometimes science backgrounds as well. I do the same thing with a background in humanities, with many courses from the Hindu University, with a lot of knowledge about Buddhist perspective. And I believe that I know more about managing people than the business school can teach them, because this stuff is amazing. So if you have never been down this rabbit hole, it is like the greatest thing ever. It teaches you literally every aspect. I mean, it's not a specific discipline of how to program a computer, but it is how to deal with human life at the deepest level. So anybody doing anything with people would benefit from this tremendously.
Oh, terrific. Great, Shri. That's fantastic. Extremely well said. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Jose.
Yeah, I agree totally with what Sherry said. But I've been taking courses at HUA for 2 years. And I've been very happy. But what really surprised me, and I was unexpected, is one, the teachers that we've had, most of the ones that have taught me, they were in STEM. They worked for AT&T, Bell Labs, whatever. But then they were also pursuing their knowledge of, the Sanatana Dharma and all that. And it impressed me that, and they were very distinguished. Each one of them achieved something amazing in the secular world, but they also had this deep spiritual knowledge. And I don't see that in other institutions. I've gone to different schools, etc., but just the combination of the multi-talented of this STEM plus spirituality. And then on the other hand, I've met a lot of students in the classes. And again, each of the students, they're there because the general theme is, I've been doing my job. I've been, achieving some success in the world, providing for my family, but I'm also seeking something deeper. And of course, that's why I'm here, because it's the same. And so I'm very touched by how deeply spiritual all the students are. And so it's made being at HUA an amazing experience, just from the teachers and the students.
Great, Jose. Awesome. All right. Okay, we're going to end the webinar shortly, but if anybody wants to say anything, now is a good time. Yeah, Seshaji.
So I think after the colonial, power over Bharat, and after they left India as a skeleton, it was necessary for the Indians or Bharatiya to rise from that. Unless you have food in the tummy, you cannot think of anything else. So that's what happened, I think. And right now, what I feel is Bharat is in a very good situation. People are very well in the STEM. And also there are people in spirituality. Now, the most important thing I feel is that somehow we have to bring or build a bridge between the two. And there are many who are like just now, Jose said, and Sherry said that they really enjoy it. So that the spiritual foundation will keep us in STEM, as well as also has self-growth, and there will be hopefully more peace in the world. So spirituality has to overtake the STEM in somehow bridging the two, if you call a separate academia right now, because you need all parts of the body to function well. So spirituality is one part that is really missing in today's modern, so-called modern world. So I just wanted to add that. I mean, this is, I think, very important aspect of our life for individual growth and the world.
Yeah, right. Excellent. So, on that note, I will extend to all of you an invitation to register for the course if you haven't already done it. If you haven't taken it, please do take it. And, we'll see you in 5 days on Friday evening next week. There's no good time to take this course, okay, in your life. There's no good time.
No, it's always a good time.
No, what I mean is there's always good reasons not to take the course, hoping that we'll do it someday, one day in the future, maybe, but not now. And I think that, you'll have to break through that constraint in our thinking, before you can jump in. And I would warmly welcome you, and I'll promise you a fantastic 11 weeks, of study, learning, conversation. Great. Okay. All right. With that, everybody, thank you for staying up, staying with me. Namaste, and I'll see you soon. Namaskar. Bye-bye.